It included newcomer Leslie Van Houten. With their murderous directive from Manson, the cultists enter the home of shop owners Rosemary and Lino LaBianca. There, Leslie and Katie stab Rosemary 41 times. Her husband Lino is stabbed 12 times with a knife and punctured 14 times with a carving fork.
The crime scene photos are horrible. I mean, they carved war into Lino LaBianca's chest. There was a fork stuck in his chest as well. There was a knife embedded in his throat. Both of them begged for their lives, but to no avail.
After the murders, Manson took his cult to a hiding place in Death Valley to wait for Helter Skelter. 2 months later, authorities arrest members of the family on an unrelated charge. Only later would they be linked to the infamous Tate LaBianca murders. At only 20, Leslie Van Houten was charged with first-degree murder. Throughout the investigation, Manson's indoctrination of the girls remained strong. His was the only authority they recognized. Even when threatened with life imprisonment, they were unconcerned and remorseless. As the world watched, the Manson girls sung their way through a trial for murder.
They were absolutely flip about it, as if nothing had happened, as if they were proud of what they had done, that there was no shame or no sense of wrong.
Throughout the trial, Manson's strangle-like hold on the girls became more and more visible. When he carves an X into his forehead, the girls mutilate their own faces. When he shaves his head in protest, the girls follow suit. But petty demonstrations weren't enough. Manson wouldn't be satisfied until they had sacrificed their freedom and their futures. The jury is unanimous. Leslie Van Houten is convicted of first-degree murder. The 3 defendants are eventually sentenced to life in prison.
There's something that caused them to do such a horrible crime, and to do it in a manner where there appears to be no remorse afterwards. And so when you have someone like that, the question becomes, can they ever really be rehabilitated?
To say that they would be viable, functioning individuals in a free society, I just can't go with that.
At Leslie Van Houten's 16th parole hearing, the arguments have been made and the issues have been deliberated. As the news cameras wait, the parole board is about to give their decision. For 37 years, Leslie Van Houten has been behind bars. Since her arrest at age 19, she has been denied parole 15 times. Now, at her 16th parole hearing, the board will decide if she is still a danger to society. If Leslie Van Houten is the same person who brutally murdered innocent people under orders from Charles Manson. The members of the parole board are ready to announce their decision.
The panel makes the following findings. The prisoner needs continued programming in order to face, discuss, understand, and cope with stress and non-disruptive.
Leslie Van Houten will spend another year in jail.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Her cultic devotion to Charles Manson has cost her her freedom.
Charles Manson was striking back at being neglected and abandoned. So what he did was ultimately set it up so that several young women who were about the age of his mother when she went into prison, and he sees to it that these women are going to spend the rest of their lives in prison.
Manson's vengeance was complete. Almost 40 years after their cultic crimes, all 3 Manson girls remain imprisoned. But every parole hearing or attempted appeal is still a media circus.
We all need to stand together and put our foot down.
And the hard work that she's done.
If the crime were committed today, the minimum sentence that she would have received for these
The world continues to be shocked by the naked cruelty of these decades-old crimes. But there are other equally shocking cults that the world has never heard of. Remote outposts of torture and death. Nestled in lush green mountains lies a ghost town few have ever seen. The clean, white walkways are empty, and the little houses stand abandoned. But the quaint Bavarian architecture disguises a horrific history. What resembles a village in the heart of Germany is a cult compound in the Andean foothills of Chile. In the 1950s, Paul Schaefer was the spiritual leader of a Baptist church in his native Germany. Extremely strict in his doctrine, Schaefer appealed to a group of pious Germans who believed in the cleansing power of penance and asceticism. But while preaching the heavenly virtues of self-denial, Schaefer himself indulged in disturbing perversities.
Schaefer had been denounced for 2 or 3 episodes of abuses of children. So he had to find a way to get out of Germany and still have unlimited access to children.
A compulsive pederast, Schaefer had been molesting the young boys of his congregation for years. When he came under suspicion of the German authorities, Schaefer fled with his congregation to the safety and anonymity of South America. In 1961, he purchased a large piece of land in a remote area several hours south of Santiago, Chile. There, he put his cult to work building an orphanage for Chilean children, with whom he could enact his twisted fantasies. Heinz Kuhn, a German national, spent 6 years at the colony.
Let me tell you something. If this were to happen to me today, I would never have gone. But when you are young, 19, 20 years old, you're not prepared for life, and anything is possible in a group.
To the Chilean locals, Colonia Dignidad, the Colony of Righteousness, was a successful humanitarian organization. In a very short time, the cult had built a functioning hospital that tended to local poor, a large farm that grew a surplus of crops, and even a large commercial food unit that churned out German sausage and strudel to be sold in stores throughout the country. Schaefer turned his cult into a thriving business with a glowing reputation and huge profits. Profits that were based on slave labor.
As far as a religious preaching that had existed in Germany, it was like goodbye, nothing, only work, 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 all for God, all for something grand, something beautiful. We worked from the morning until night, and then the cement trucks would arrive and would continue again for 2 or 3 hours. Everybody unloading or building a house, placing roofing tiles. The motto was, work makes you free. The same motto was written on the gates of the concentration camps.
Using the slogan of the Third Reich, Schaefer had built his own private slave camp. Cult members worked long days, often 7 days a week. Refusal was out of the question, as public beatings and other sadistic discipline tactics became more and more common. But by the time these gradual changes had taken effect, it was too late. Escape was an impossible dream. And while Schaefer used the colony to bring in children for his sexual use, he found adult consensual sex sinful and grotesque. Residents of the colony were barred from having sex, even husbands and wives.
Between 1982 and 1997, 15 years, not a single child was born in that place because he convinced everybody that sex was a crime, no matter what conditions. Sex between man and wife was a crime.